everyone, John Davenport here from foreground with another Let's Edit video. Today we're going to take a look at editing a sunrise photo. You can apply a lot of this to sunsets, so we're kind of going to cover the same thing, or at least two birds with one stone. If you like taking sunsets, feel free to apply these editing techniques to that as well. What I'm going to do here is kind of try and lighten up the foreground a bit. Maybe bring a lot out of this reflection that you see here. You can see that there's a little bit of color being reflected in the water. We'll try and bring that out a little more. And then there's a few distracting elements that we'll get rid of by cloning. So let's get started really quickly. First, I'd like to actually mention that this was actually taken last summer. ISO 200, 16 millimeters, f5.6, and it was 1/50th of a second for the exposure time. This was taken as part of a time-lapse video, which if you haven't seen it, it's on my YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to it in this video so that you can hop to that if you want to take a quick look at one of my first time-lapse videos. So anyway, we'll get started with this edit really quickly. The first thing I'm going to do is bring the exposure up just enough to really start to see what's going on here, and more or less just bring this foreground into view for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is just crop up just a little bit here. You could go, I might go this high of a crop and just get rid of that tube. You could also go a little lower and try and clone it out. It's probably not a hard thing to clone out, but I'm just going to crop it off and start there, just because the foreground really isn't all that interesting. It's just more lake. And then I'm just going to make sure we have a nice level horizon here. And I think this looks looking pretty good already. So now you can see, because of raising that exposure, the sky's really bright. So as usual, I'm just going to drop in a graduated filter really quickly here and drop the exposure down a bit, and you can see the highlights were already dropped down. I may drop them down just a little bit more, just something like this, just to darken that sky up and really make those colors start to pop. You could try adding a little saturation, but I'm going to actually leave that for the overall image. And then the only other thing I noticed is there's this really bright area, and this is probably about where the sun was at this time. So what I'm going to do is just come in here with my adjustment brush tool, and again you can see my highlights are already dropped down a little bit. You can drop the exposure down just a little. You don't want to drop it too much, because then what will end up happening is you'll have a really dark spot here, and it will look obvious that you kind of touched it up a little bit. It just won't look natural. So we drop that down just a little bit there. And now it's time to bring the overall photo back to where we want it to be. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of contrast here. And as I do that, you can see the photo just kind of darkens up a little bit. Bringing in the contrast really does tend to darken the photo up. So I'm going to add just a little bit more exposure. I'm going to add a little bit of highlights and a little bit of shadow detail. And then I can drop the exposure just a little bit here. Something like this. Drop the whites down just a little bit. Add a little bit of the blacks. I think I'm going to bring just a touch of clarity, maybe like +6 or so. And maybe just a little bit of vibrance and a little bit of saturation. Just kind of boost those colors up a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my adjustment brush tool. I'm going to add another adjustment brush to the water here. And this is just going to affect our foreground element, which is the water, and more importantly, the reflection of the sunrise in the water. And you can click on this little show selected mask overlay, and this will show you what you have affected with your adjustment brush and how much it's been affected by how dark the red is. And I'm just going to quickly erase along the horizon line to bring my flow up a little bit here. Just kind of really outlining this water. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to uncheck this. And now I'm going to bring the exposure of the water up a little bit here. Just a little. Add a little bit of contrast. Maybe add just a little bit of the highlight detail. I'm going to drop the clarity all the way down, drop the sharpness all the way down, add a little bit of saturation, maybe a little bit of shadow, drop the highlights down here a little bit. I'm going to drop the contrast just a little and drop the exposure. And you can see the idea that I'm having here, and this is kind of just trying this out on the fly, but the idea that I'm having here is to try my best to kind of smooth the water out in a way that will kind of emphasize this reflection a little bit more. Maybe bring the highlights down. So we can do something like this maybe. You know, it's just kind of feeling it out and seeing what works. And then as we can come back into our final image here in our basic tab and kind of work with it a little bit more as well. And I'm thinking this is looking pretty good. So I hope you liked this quick little edit here. I know it's not, you know, anything new per se, but if it did help you out, I would love to hear from you in the comments below, or a simple click of the like button will do just fine as well. You can see really quickly, here's our before image and here's our after, so it's a real slight effect. All we really did was bring a little more detail into that water in the foreground and just brightened up the overall colors of the photo and really added a little bit of punch. So I hope you liked this little quick sunrise tutorial. Don't forget to check out the time-lapse video that this photo was a part of. I'll put a link in the comments or in the description below so you can find that really easily. Thank you again for watching. If this is your first visit to Photogrammetry's YouTube channel, please subscribe, as more viewers are always welcome. Thanks for watching again. Have a great week, and I'll see you again next week with another Let's Edit video. Bye for now.